welcome back. I'm here with a fellow firewife, Erin Reed, and we're just going to talk about fire family life. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Chelsea. Yep, as you mentioned, I am a firewife. Also, an interesting note about me is that while being a firewife for the past 12 years, I am also the daughter of a now retired law enforcement officer. So I have been in the first responder family life since I was 3. So that's all I really know. My dad was a police officer for 27 years. And as I was thinking through this, I just realized he retired at 13. And that was the exact year my husband started the academy. So there was really no end. It has been truly from age 3 till now. So always a part of my life. I'm happy to be here to talk about it.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. What's going on now for you?
We all got married in 2013. We have 2 boys. They're 7 and 9. So, that time of life where they've got multiple activities, school, homework. I have a full-time career that is pretty demanding and deadline driven. So that adds some more fun to the mix. My husband promoted this last year, so he's now a lieutenant with his department. So we're really busy, but overall, we're good.
Yeah, 7 to 9, probably soccer, I would guess, or some kind of sport.
Close. Flag football, basketball,
Oh, football is even worse.
but
Okay.
flag. We're
Oh,
not.
flag. My youngest played football in 8th grade. That was 2 years ago. And we did soccer and baseball when they were little. And the football schedule
Uh-huh.
blew my mind. I'm like, what is this? I'm at practice every day. I'm going somewhere every weekend. Like, this is no. And thankfully, he decided he didn't want to play in high school. So we're not on that track anymore. But it's like,
Mhm.
holy moly. I did not expect this amount of commitment from a sport for a child.
Yes, we have kids schedules that are opposite. So I am at a field
Oh,
or in a gym. Their main sport for both of them really is basketball. So there's some training in the mix right now as well. But I am at a football field 4 days a week, in a gym 2 days a week, and then at a field at least half the day Saturday for each of their games.
so
So
yeah, so you're really in the thick of it. And on top of that, working full time. And what's your firefighter schedule like?
So it's really interesting here for his department. They changed a few years ago to 24 on, 72 off,
Right.
and then 48 on, 72 off. So that's 2 years. That's been the schedule. But trades, overtime.
Yeah. But if the schedule were to be what it is, despite the trades and the Mandos and all the things that happen that we know, do you like that schedule more than the previous one? Or what was the previous one? I guess I should ask that first.
The previous one was just a 24, 48. I mean, the doubles are hard for sure, because then it's really kind of a triple. The morning after they're off shift, regardless, is kind of a wash. There's rest, decompression, all of that, which we try to incorporate, but sometimes life takes over and there's an afternoon nap or no nap. So I'd say that part's harder, just knowing it's more like 3 days. It's really a day of recovery. If we get him home for the true 72, that's wonderful. So it's a trade-off, I would say.
And it rotates every week or
That's
how
just a
often?
continual
They
rotation.
and there's never like an island day or anything like that. It just continues.
So they call them Kelly days. So every 10th shift is your Kelly day. So you have a day off. Yeah.
So tell me about family life as a daughter of a police officer.
So I have a sister, 3 years apart, so close. And in terms of like what we did, during those years was very similar. We both danced, we had volleyball, so super active. My dad, depending on where he was in his rank at the time, he worked a lot of swing shift, he worked nights. He actually didn't work days until he was in later years promoted to more of that 40-hour-a-week schedule. So it was pretty rare that he was home in the evenings or had true weekends off. And to be fair, he enjoyed that. He wanted to be in the field. That's where the fun is, I guess you could say. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom for a good number of years until we could ride the bus home and be alone for a little while, type of a thing. And then she went back to work. But her having that ability to be home with us, I think is what kept such a steady. We always had her. We always knew what to expect. I now know she did not know what to expect. My dad was also a member. They call it CERT at the bureau he was with. So like a SWAT team. So he was a part of that for a number of years as well. So they'd have, call outs or search warrants or, he's sleeping off times or he's going in at 3 a.m. to do whatever. But my mom was really that constant, making sure we were getting to school, home, homework, shuttling us around to all of our stuff. So it didn't feel abnormal to us because there was always someone there. My dad really did do his best to be at as much of our things as he could. He maybe was nodding off in a recital here or there, but he was there, And he just really did his best. My sister played competitive volleyball. He made sure to be at every tournament he could. I laugh now because I think at times, you're home alone and you're fighting over who knows what clothes or something. And it's like, I'm calling dad. And I distinctly remember him being like, "Hey, what do you need? Hey, we're about to do a search warrant. Can I call you later?" And I just imagine now, I cringe thinking about my dad just suited up, ready to go. And then it's like, oh, wait, I got to answer the phone for my daughter, which he always did.
Oh, that's amazing.
And now I'm like, really didn't have to do that. Like, hi, not a great time. Oh,
Yeah, but still, the fact that he was there for you is everything, I feel like.
absolutely.
I mean, as an adult, you're probably like, "Ack,
Oh,
my
completely cringe. Like, why would we do that?
why would you answer the phone?" It's so funny that you say that because my husband always answers the phone when the boys call, and it's always like, "Hey, I'm on my way to a fire,"
Yep.
or "I can't take this phone call right now, I'll call you back," or he'll send a text real quick, and I'm like, "How do you even have time to do that?"
Clearing a call. How's it going? It's just like, what?
I'm over here like, "Don't bother dad, he's at work, like, it's okay," but they're like, "No, I'm gonna call him, he's my dad." I'm like, "Okay, fine, go
Yep.
ahead." Like, he might not
Yep.
answer, whatever. So, that's really great that he actually answered the phone when you called.
We didn't need to call him
Yeah.
pretty much ever for any of our woes at the time. The only other things that I think we were probably pretty disruptive when he was trying to sleep. I distinctly remember a few times when we were younger, my mom being like, "You guys are getting loud. You're going to wake your dad. And you don't want to wake your dad." And I could hear those footsteps. I could hear it to this day. Like they get out of bed and like stomp, stomp, stomp. And we're like, oh, we've done it now. We woke him up with our bickering about, of course, probably clothes.
Probably, yeah. Do you think that having a dad as a police officer prepared you for firewife life?
Not really. I think it gave me a early appreciation for my mom being, the steady one at home with us. So in terms of that, I knew I was going to have to be the default parent or whatever you want to call it, the consistent one. But as far as her ever showing signs of stress or anything, in terms of what our dad was doing, I mean, I hear about calls now and I'm like, what? Like, we're just doing what we do, being kids. And, our mom is probably just panicked inside, waiting for the phone call from my dad that everything is fine. But she never showed that ever. In hindsight, I'm like, I don't, it's good she wasn't panicky and freaking us out. Maybe it would have been good to share a little bit of that. I think that's probably where we'd be headed now. Um, but she didn't, and, I'll blame it on early 90s. It was just a time, that she chose to shield us from a lot of that, and that was totally fine. But I don't think her doing that changed how I see what my husband does for a living or how we talk to our kids about things. We're both pretty open with our kids to a point. They're 7 and 9. There's certain things they don't need to know, but there's just more that the partner or spouse carries in my situation than I did as a child. So there's an awareness, yes. How deep it actually went, I wasn't aware.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's good for you because that means she shielded you from the secondary trauma, possibly.
Absolutely.
She had
Yeah.
no idea what she was even facing. How do you think she's doing now that he's retired and, like, does she ever talk about it?
They both talk about it more now. They're very open with my sister and I, and my husband and My brother-in-law is actually a police officer as well. We're surrounded. So if it's a family gathering, it is absolutely my dad, my husband, and brother-in-law at some point off in a corner, sharing stories and whatever they're dealing with now. And I think my dad really enjoys that. There's a lot of pride in what he did in his career. And I think he likes to reminisce on the good times and, also hear what's going on in that field today. Because he is now so far removed.
Like, it has to be helpful to be able to talk about life for you now, and maybe do you get, like, really good sound advice?
No, I think it's different because I have the firefighter and which, there's obviously an ongoing joke there too. That my husband picked the right profession type of a thing. That's
But you gotta love that rivalry, like,
yes,
it's so fun.
it's so fun. But I think just in terms of every shift is 24 hours for us. There's no 12s or 10s or whatever, which was what my dad was doing or what my brother-in-law does, more as a standard. Obviously, there's things that hold my dad back, or held him over, but for my husband, it's a 24-hour shift no matter what. And so that's different. And I think sometimes hard to comprehend, like, oh, wait, no, he's still at work. Or, oh, no, he has to sleep. He's not going to be with us for, 4 hours because he needs to nap. Or, he's going to go in early to cover this person or hold over. There's all that stuff, which I think is a little bit of a different dynamic. And, my mom didn't work in our formative years and I do. So there's also that balance of like, if I don't leave before 4:02, if I'm in the office, I'm going to be late for pickup. It's just
Huh?
all of that isn't something my mom
No.
necessarily had to deal with.
Yeah. Okay. So what would be your best advice for a new fire wife? Knowing everything you know now about having been a police officer's daughter, marrying a firefighter, having kids, working full time.
Your calendar is completely in pencil at all times. Obviously it's not literally anymore, but we are constantly in be flexible mode, which will be honest is really hard for me. I'm a type A person, and this schedule and life has probably made me a little more type A just because everything is scheduled almost to the minute. And it has to be to juggle all the things we're doing. And yes, I could say kids, you can each only do one activity per season, but this isn't their burden to carry. It's ours in my mind. And that could be right or wrong. But that's the choice we've made as parents that we're not going to limit them because of, our career choices. So I think knowing, what you've signed up for, and can you, as likely the default parent, commit to that as much as you can, or be prepared to ask your village for help. And hopefully you have a village or build one. And everything just has to be flexible. And the hardest part for me is not reacting when things have to change, because when in doubt, they do. My instinct still 12 years later is, but then this, and then this, and then this. And it's like, no, it's just going to be. And we get through it every day or every week or every minute. It seems to work out. So that's something I'm really working hard on is don't overreact.
Mhm.
And we'll just shuffle. Flexibility is absolutely the name of the game.
Yes, everything with a question mark. If it's on his off days and we have something planned, it's like big old question mark if it involves him, and
Yeah.
always willing to be flexible and move the schedule or do what needs to be done. Being the default parent and working full time, I did it for, gosh, 7 years of our marriage.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I work now, but I work from home and I have a lot of agency over my own schedule.
Yeah.
So, it's not to say that I'm not working, but I'm a photographer, so I can pick and choose what I take and what I don't.
So probably some longer stints, but you can say like, I'm not doing a wedding that weekend or whatever, or yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gone 12 hours.
Or today I was gonna edit, but the kids have 5,000 things going on and husband got forced on, so that's not happening today.
Yeah, that'll be another
Um,
day.
right? Like, it's just gonna get moved somewhere else. But working full time was rough, especially because the kids were little. When they started to get to be older in like the 10 to 12-year-old age, it got a little bit easier. But when they were little, man, like the schedules, I felt like I never had a day off.
There's no days off. No.
No days off. We were running between every activity and every play date and everything. And at one point, I was just like, enough. I can't do one more thing.
Mhm.
And it felt like the kids weren't even enjoying themselves, like, at
Yeah.
the point. So, I started limiting my kids to, like, "You can do this sport at this time." I was like, I can't do it all."
Yeah.
But at the same time, I totally agree with you. We've chosen to do these things, so we shouldn't limit them to such an extent that they're not gonna have a life.
You just reminded me of something. I mean, our oldest, he's 9 and we're getting to that age of like, I want to have sleepovers. And it's like, other than with family, cousins, whatever, we really haven't done that yet. But part of the reason is if it's a shift night, let's say he wakes up or decides like, at bedtime, like, I kind of want to go home. Like I've got a 7-year old I'm going to have to drag out of bed to go pick up said 9-year old at whatever time. And I don't think that's fair to do. I don't want to do it. I certainly don't want to make my 7-year old do it if I don't have to. So it's things like that. It's like, we really have to coordinate that when dad's home too. So there are some things that I just don't feel is an option, but we try hard. If they are want to be committed to something and we can make it work, try really hard to do so.
That was one of our things too. I've tried not to have sleepovers on shift
Yeah.
nights, even in our home, with the exception of, like, really close family friends or
Yeah.
relatives, like you said, that understood, like, this is our life. I can't just up and run in the middle of the night to bring your kid home or
Yeah.
whatever. So we tried to limit that as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I wasn't real comfortable with my kids staying overnight places anyway, so it was an easy no. My thing is make the easy no's no's. Like, don't feel pressured into doing something that doesn't feel good for you or your family because no matter what we see growing up or what we know, like for you specifically, like police officers' life, completely different, right? People think that because you grew up in a first responder home that you're just totally prepared for what you're gonna face as a first responder family. And that could be true to some extent,
Yeah.
but I think nothing really prepares us for what we face as a family together. And no matter how much we tell you, it's probably gonna be different.
Say the one thing I was prepared for is non-traditional schedule. I mean, that's it. The dangers of the work. I trust the training. I trusted my dad. I trust my husband. But ultimately, bad things happen in that line of work. My husband does some specialty things as well, which have created a little bit of stress, a little bit of worry that I didn't know could exist. So there's just elements like that that I think you just feel differently as a partner or spouse than you would as a child.
Yeah. And also just the dynamics of family in general, like raising kids. No two households are the same. No two kids
Right.
are the same. No two families are the same. So you can't, I can tell you, be prepared and know what you signed up for, but you really, as a parent, have no idea what you signed up for.
Yeah.
Like, no
Yeah.
clue.
Our kids thrive on schedule. Dinners as close to a certain time as possible. Bedtime's pretty close to a certain time. Here's when we do homework. They need that structure. There are certainly other families that structure doesn't work for them, and that's totally okay.
Tell me about your experience working.
A couple things, I guess. I like the new perspective, for years, right? Work life balance. And I'm just like, that is hilarious. That's an unattainable goal.
Yes.
It really is. Every once in a while I'll be like, am I doing it? It's happening. And then it's like, then it, goes up in a ball of flames. So I like the whole new perspective of work life integration because that is probably what I've been doing this entire time. For me, 2020 made it so I am remote 3 to 4 days a week. I mean, my office is 35, 40 minutes with traffic. I can get a lot done when I get home from school drop off in 10 minutes, versus adding another 35 to 40-minute commute. So that has been really helpful because I have a bit of the flexibility to, like this, I can do this recording knowing I can shift my work schedule, which I was able to do because I am home. So I could start a little earlier, I can stay on a little later type of a thing, but it's a constant juggling act. I am in a meetings in the car. I am blocking myself out when I need to be, I'm not taking a meeting where I need to participate in the car after I've picked up my kids. We all know how that will go. But if I have to listen in, maybe it's something I'm doing or I'm just up front. I can join your 8 o'clock meeting, but I really can't actively participate till 8:10 when my kids are physically in the building at school. I'm very open about what I need, but I wasn't in the beginning because I wasn't in a management position. And now that I am, it's like, okay, I'm going to empower my own team. This is normal. Having a family is normal. Having two working parents these days is normal. It's rare that someone gets to fully stay home and be that person raising the kids and taking care of the household. To me, that dynamic is the minority, at least in my circle.
How do you feel that the fire department deals with that? Like, as a whole? Like, do you think yeah, okay, now we're gonna get on a soapbox, right?
Now it's good.
Here
No.
we go.
Um, they don't.
Like,
And I think that's true for corporate America too, for the most part. In my industry, I think there's a bit more of an understanding. I work in a very male dominated industry historically, and that's changing, but it is a lot of that standard husbands at work, partners at home, and that's just slowly changing. But I think for our department, it's the same viewpoint. It's like there's always the assumption that somebody's at home maintaining all of this. And I just don't think that's the majority anymore. And I was totally mentioning this to my husband the other day, kind of ranting about it. He is finishing his lieutenant's probation. It's a year. And so he's got 2 months to go of that, and he's doing well. So they will bump you out to make way for brand new lieutenants who just got promoted. So his schedule is changing, where he goes is changing. And we were told, I think 2 days before this was going to happen, well, it could be this date, which is in 2 days, or it could be this date, which is in 2 weeks. Okay. When are we going to know? We're going to know when the blue slip comes out the day of the pay period change. That's it. And so it's things like that. I realize there's, a domino effect of you can't promote till this happens. Like, absolutely get it. But there's just been no shift in, hey, what if we started to make these decisions sooner? I don't even know if it's possible, but I do feel like there's no understanding of what that does to a family dynamic.
do you think, it's a lack of understanding of how it changes the family dynamic, or do you think it's just a matter of they don't know how to make it work with the
Could
family?
be,
Yeah.
could be. I think there's so many moving parts and they have to do things so quickly. Um, it's like that's a bigger issue with, policy or union or whatever. It's, I hate to say this, but probably to them, the juice isn't worth the squeeze in that sense. I disagree, but
Well, yeah, yeah. I'm on a 24-hour schedule, no matter what. I don't know how the dynamic could be any different. Can you imagine a world where firefighter schedules are only 8 to 12 hours?
I know there are people who have schedules that like it's a constant rotation. You're on this shift and then in 3 months you go to this shift. I can just hear my husband. I can picture his eyes rolling right now. I don't think he would enjoy that. Because I also think the 24-hour for him gives the opportunity based on our schedule. If you've got your 72 and a 24 and a 72, if you take that 24 off, you've got a full week. So it's easy in terms of I need a week for vacation, or we actually have a number of firefighters that he works around that live 2, 3, 4 hours away. So that gives them the ability to make their commute, and do their trades and work a bunch. And then they're home, in Central Oregon or whatever for 3, 4, 5 days, whatever. So I think for those of us that, home doing the default parenting, it might be nice. But I think in the long run, the firefighter probably wouldn't be as happy.
I think the firefighter would be as happy, and I think that it would change the structure of the entire fire service. And honestly, is that what we want? And then this is a shift in my mind that's happened just in the last few years. Like, would we even be able to manage it And to me, it doesn't matter how long they're gone out of the home, there's still going to have to be somebody here
Yeah.
to make it work.
Well, and at some point, if you're only doing an 8 or a 12, right? Somebody's working swings, somebody's working nights. Maybe the person on days doesn't want to do like who
No.
knows? There's, that dynamic, which, are you putting in a bid for a shift? Is it by seniority? I mean, that's a whole overhaul of
Mhm.
a system that I don't think isn't working. I just think the ability to communicate change as early as possible. I mean, to my husband's credit, he does everything he can to give me heads up, notices of these elements. I'll tell you right now, this week is one of those times for us in his specialty work that he does. He was supposed to be gone for a training today through Friday based on some things that are going on here locally in Portland. That training was canceled and they were going to have to be kind of on in case there was some social disruptions downtown. Then as of yesterday, it got switched to that now you're training, but you're training in a certain block of time at a different location. So you're closer. And I mean, that's been going on for the last 5 days. We're doing this. Oh, wait, nope, we're doing this. Nope, we're doing this. So talk about calendar shifts. So I just am assuming Tuesday through Friday, it's me. If he's home to help, it's a bonus.
Yep. And that's kind of the way I've decided to deal with it since I don't even know how long now. It's like, okay, well, the department's not going to change. I don't even
Yeah.
know if it can change. I think us squawking about it isn't going to make it any better. Really, like, and this is the thing that I've always thought, like, where the fire department is operating in a 1950s model in a modern world that
Yeah.
no longer fits it.
Mhm.
But the problem with that statement is I don't know how it would change.
Yeah.
And the more we get upset about it and try to change it, the worse off we are because we're not actually managing inside of it. And so, like you said, like that you're signing up for 24-hour shifts no matter what. You're signing up for mandatory overtime. You're signing up for really the unknown. And no amount of complaining about it is going to make it change, nor is it going to make it better for you. So the mindset shifts that have to happen over time
Yeah.
are ever changing, quite frankly. Like you just said, like you don't even know what's happening this week. If you don't even know what's happening this week, how are you supposed to know what's happening in a year from now or
Yeah.
6
No
months?
idea.
No idea what's going to happen. And so just know that like if you're the default parent, it's going to be you.
Yeah. I have severely limited my work travel that I do now because it's just so hard to coordinate. I thought it was hard to coordinate when our kids were little, and I laugh now because that was just a different kind of busy. And now
Right.
it's like I physically need to get two people to do two different places at the same time. That's a different challenge. But I still, October and April, May-ish, I still travel and I know that schedule 4 to 6 months in advance. I know when I'm supposed to be somewhere. So you can imagine when I got told a week ago, my shift is changing. I'm like, but we've mapped out my 2 trips in October for the last 4 months.
We are the same person right now. Literally this happened to me too. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be on a, I don't even know. He told me what the schedule was the other day and I was like, wait, what? He explained it to me and I was like, can you please write this in a calendar
Just put it
somewhere?
in the calendar.
Really see what the heck is going on. So I went from, oh, you're going to be home 3 days a week every week to, oh, by the way, here's whatever this new normal is going to be. And I'm kind of like you because I book my own weddings.
Yeah,
So I know in advance these are the Saturdays that I need to be somewhere.
you're not
Well,
moving
granted,
that.
yeah, my kids are old enough, they can be here by themselves, they
Yeah.
can cook for themselves and they can do things, but neither of them drive.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm still responsible for them while they're home. And so I'm the person that's going to get the call if there's an emergency. I'm the person who ultimately will have to shift my life around if something were to need to
Yes.
happen. And so I'm like, I don't know with this new schedule what I'm going to be doing because I'm not sure that's going to work. And I'm also very realistic about the capacity that I have. And I've told
Uh-huh.
him so many times, like, you're going to be working Saturdays. There's no way I'm doing weddings. Like, I can't handle having to worry about the kids and having to worry about my job at the same time. and I have to be focused on what I'm doing as a photographer. My mind cannot be wandering off to my kids all the time.
All of their needs, whatever's
Right.
happening.
And they're really good. They usually handle business, but at the same time, I know the mental load
It's
is
in the back of your mind at all
it's in the back
times.
of my mind. And like you said, the juice is not worth the squeeze.
Yep.
And so those are hard conversations to be having.
Yep. Want to say that's a conversation we've had. It's not feasible, but is the type of work that I'm in being so deadline driven. I mean, that's just the way my industry is. I can't change that. I can't move a client deadline.
Right.
Um,
You neither.
no, you can't move. Hi, can you move your wedding? That'd be great. No, can you imagine? You just reminded me of a complete panic moment. It was 2024 spring, I guess. It was a conference. I just arrived. Husband was on shift. I did school drop off, traveled. Parents were doing school pickup, and I had just arrived. And I got a call from school. My son had been running. He's wild. He ran into a pole chasing someone. I'm like, great. He now needs picked up at noon. I am 3.5 hours away by car. Call my parents in a panic, like, hi, hopefully you're not busy, 4 hours earlier than you were planning to be. But it's moments like that that I just dread, like in traveling when I know there's really no fail safe. Thankfully, we live near family, and we all do what we need to do when we can. But if I don't have plan A, B, or C, my head is not in the game with what I should be doing that day.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that because I'm also live close to my parents, and we're very fortunate both of our parents are close to where we live. But the older they get, the less dependable they become. My parents are traveling all the time, as they should. But it's like the stability of that is ever changing. And so I depend on them less and less.
Mhm.
And it's not because they're not dependable, it's just because their lives don't coincide with mine. I guess there's no balance. Like you said, work integration, like there's no way to integrate your work into this particular life if it's deadline driven. But I also think, what would I do instead? What am I going to do instead? It's really a struggle.
Yeah, I would say it is a jigsaw puzzle every day.
It is.
And, with a few minutes to spare here on either end, it's like, this morning traffic was worse than usual. We left at the same time, on time, believe it or not. And it's like, okay, well, there's 7 minutes that, we all didn't plan for. We can't help it. But it's like, then everything's kind of bumped. It just is. And that's, everyday life in non first responder world too. It's just carrying that weight of it is me. And there's typically no one else. I truly am amazed at people that do this, that don't have family nearby or don't have a village to rely on. I mean, ours is pretty small, but they're a huge help.
Thank God for our parents. Don't know what I would have done if my parents didn't live closer when my kids were really little. I was already a mess. I would have been even worse.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We joke all the time, like, we're going to move somewhere else. And it's like, we're not, unless my entire family goes. I think realizing as soon as you settle into a season, it's going to shift on you or something's going to change.
Just about the time where you feel like you've got it all together,
Oh,
fire wife life smacks you in the face and says, "No, you don't."
every time.
Every
I'm like,
single
I
time.
had that thought. Nope.
I'm like,
It's
"I
like,
feel really good about this, like, this 4 day and, like, we're doing it," and then, "Oh, nope, never mind." I feel like it it gets different, not better.
I think the hard part for me is that I have yet to meet a lot of fire wives who are in the position I'm in. And that's for good reason because it's really hard. Most fire wives I know or fire partners, either way, work to some degree. There's hardly any that are like a stay at home parent. But for the most part, they're not doing, the standard 9 to 5, 8 to 5, whatever type of situation like I am. And, that was my career before, this was where I was headed pre what he was doing. So I'm still in search of that type of person, just, if anything, to again bounce ideas. Maybe they won't work, but it's, good to hear or commiserate sometimes. You need those people who truly understand what you're going through.
That aren't gonna tell you, "Well, you could just quit."
Yeah, or "You signed up for this."
right? You know what you signed up for. I'm like, but did I? Did I
Yeah,
know?
it's like, I'm gonna support him in what he wants to do, his dream, as he does me. But yeah, it's a lot of those responses, or like, "Oh, well, he got promoted. Doesn't he work 8 to 5?" And you're like,
No. Doesn't he have
"No,
to come and sleep at night? No,
no."
no.
Like, do you sleep there? You eat there? Like, I mean, still those questions all the time. The people I work with closest, they know, but so many don't. Like, "Oh, well, can't your husband pick them up?" I'm like, "Ah, that's
I
hilarious."
wish.
Yeah. So 2 things, I guess my point was, I really appreciate social media, and there's always someone to connect with, which I think has been a positive. I personally am still searching for that person who's doing what I'm doing, if that makes sense. So I would say don't give up. We don't need to be exactly the same, but it is hard to, talk through what you do in situations when it's like, "Oh, well, I just, don't schedule myself that day." And it's like, well, I don't, that's, maybe not the luxury
Yeah,
I have in my line of work type of a thing.
I can relate to that. Like, I couldn't just, hey, so I can't be at work today. Can you reschedule 20 patients? Like, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
not going to be a thing. And so it was a juggle. My kids were kids' age when I started photography, and then in 19, I took it full time right before the pandemic started. I can totally relate to you. I can't just reschedule this. And people being like, oh, well, if it's so hard, why are you doing it? Well, it's because it's my career. It's what I love. It's what I've trained for. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to just give up my entire career because my husband's a firefighter. That's not
Right.
the answer.
No.
But that wasn't the answer that they wanted.
No.
So much judgment. Like, well, you don't have to work. Well, what if I do have to work?
Mhm. Yep. Like, do you know what this economy's like?
I'm like, well, who's making the kind of money to sustain a
Yeah.
family on one income? Like, who's even making that? We
Yeah.
don't make that much money. So
Yeah.
at that time, it wasn't feasible
Yeah.
either. I don't even know that it's feasible now. We'll make it work, but it's just
Yeah. I'm always like, oh, it'd be great if I could work 30 hours. I can't in my industry and what I do. It's not. It would have to be a shift for sure. And I'm like, gosh, that would be nice. And then I'm like, would I really stop there? Probably not.
no. We know this about ourselves. No,
That's funny you mentioned that time frame, because I was also reminiscing back to 2020, a year I never want to relive again, because it was like, yeah, pandemic happened, all the things. We live outside of Portland, but that's, the big city here. And there was, over 100 nights of civil unrest downtown. And because of my husband's specialty, he was there probably 85% of those nights. I mean, he was truly awake from, go in at 3 p.m., home at 3 or 4 a.m., and awake. There was not even a little nap in there, which you would maybe get at the station. I had to hire a college student to come over to help with my kids for like a couple hours in the morning because they were so little. I couldn't juggle. One's trying to crawl up something they shouldn't, that sort of thing. I mean, that was 100 days. That was our entire summer. And then it was fire season, and we had pretty bad fire, which I know you know well. Wildfire season. That was an unfortunately pretty historic year in this area for wildfire. And our own house, we were at a level 2. So at level 3, you have to evacuate.
right.
I'm not getting called at a level 3 in the middle of the night trying to get a 2-year-old at the time and 4-year-old to somewhere. So we relocated. I mean, that year just, I think back, I'm like, okay, if I can survive that, I can survive whatever's being thrown at me now. But that was true.
Yeah, feel that way when you're in it. That's not how it feels. So just know that you will survive it, and eventually you will look back on it and be like, oh yeah, we did that.
Yep. We got creative. And I just hope that people would just keep looking for those ways to make adjustments to make it work for them, even if it's just for that day or whatever it is.
Hour. Sometimes it's just getting through 1 minute to get through the next. That's totally normal, and I feel like when I was a younger firewife, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that sometimes the heavy is real, and I
Mhm.
felt guilty for feeling the way that I felt at that time. I mean, it was 2008, so, like, totally
Yeah.
different. Um, I felt like there was a lot of older fire wives that were just like, "You just need to suck it up and deal
Yeah.
with it, like, this is your life," and I'm just kinda like, "No, I don't really need to suck it up and deal with it. I can feel the way that I feel and still manage."
One thing I've been very lucky with is fortunate and unfortunately, the station my husband got into and was at for 10 years before promoting was pretty established. I'd say a crew with more years of experience. A lot of his academy class were with people that were closer at their stages in life and with young kids. Where my husband went to work had more of a variety. So you had people with kids in high school or maybe college. So where we didn't have as much in common at the time, what I did have and still have wives, just having, like been in it, 20, 25 years, whatever, and their feedback, it's like, hey, here's what I did, or nope, this is normal, or like, no, we don't put up with that, or just very steady in who they were and how they took what was given to them. And so for that, while I didn't have someone in my shoes at the same time, it's been nice to have people who like they're forward thinking, lived through it, and hey, here's what I did. And yes, what you're feeling is totally normal. It just is,
It is what
hopefully,
it
you
is.
can talk about it more. They didn't necessarily get to in those early years.
Yeah, and I feel like that's exactly where I was in the early years, like, not being able to talk about it because somebody might judge me or it might blow back on my husband at work, or
Yes.
it it was a very different time in 2008, even up until I would say 18, 19 was when we started to have this kinda, like, shift. And I think the
Mhm.
pandemic really did bring that out, like, we're going back to the pandemic again, but I feel like people became very self-aware during that time.
I do too. So much bad came from that, but I also feel like a lot of positive changes have come about too. There
Yeah,
just seems to be more understanding of flexibility in general,
yeah,
and people not afraid to speak what they need.
yeah, yeah. So although 2020 was a doozy of a fire season, you had to evacuate. Same thing was going on in
I
California.
want to say in California, I mean, it's just,
It's always that way, but 2020 seemed like it was never going to end.
yeah.
Like fire season was never going to end. My husband was a captain in a command center at the time in Santa Cruz, and I don't know if you remember the Santa Cruz lightning fires, but that went on for months.
I remember it being particularly long, like it just wouldn't quit.
But I feel like even then we were talking about it more. So
Yeah.
it felt like there was a lot more community and a lot more, "I see you. I see that's going on. Like, how can I help?" Or,
Yes.
"Let me let me just sit with you," or, "If you need to vent," like, which would have never happened, like, 5 years earlier,
No,
right?
no.
So, I think we have come a long way, and
Yeah.
I think still moving forward. I don't think that the schedule's ever gonna be d easy.
No, I don't either. And I think there's pros and cons. I mean, I know we've talked a lot about the challenges, but yeah, that when he's off shift and can pick up the kids, they love that. Or when there's days they don't have to be at a camp in the summer because he's home, is something, yeah, the 40 year.
I could take a surfing as a good day, like,
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So there's absolutely pros. It's not all bad.
Oh, and I feel like too, the kids see the dedication and the sacrifice from both parents, and it creates a sense of pride in them. I also think for my kids, they're figuring out what they don't want for their families and what they do want. And we've always tried to make it a point that the family is the most important
Mhm.
and we have each other's backs. That's just who we are in general anyway. But I feel like part of the fire service is always having each other's backs. And the kids have learned that. And that is a huge pro for me, knowing that my children have grown up with this sense of pride in themselves and in their own work and in the sacrifice.
That just reminded me, and that is one thing, I absolutely have taken as being a child. So that I think is what's carried over. The same people I went to family barbecues at whoever's house with a bunch of police officers. Those people are my dad's best friends. I still see them. I've known them, most of my life. And to have that, and now we're giving that to our kids, it's like you're goofing off with dad's coworkers when we get to visit the station and they're asking you about basketball or how much you love the Blazers or whatever. They know our kids and we know theirs. And those are the memories I think I carry forward more than the like, oh, my dad missed this volleyball game. No, he did. He absolutely did. But I don't ever remember looking in the stands and being like, oh, he said he was going to be here and he's not. Like that isn't what I carry. So I think that is what's carrying forward into our family. It doesn't necessarily help me so much the day to
Yeah.
day.
My kids have struggled with the dad not being able to be here for things, but as they're getting older, they're learning to appreciate that more and more. And you're right, they have carried forward the more exciting parts or the better parts of life as a firefighter's kid. And they talk about all the time the things that they've learned in the firehouse with certain firefighters or even fire chiefs. I had one a fire chief in particularly that would come and like, "Hey, you're here today. Like, if you learn to do this many knots, I'll take you golfing." Or my husband served at the air attack base here in Mendocino County
Mhm.
for a couple of seasons, and the kids would go over there and visit him, and they'd be there for like a couple of hours, and there's like a ping pong
Yeah.
table, and the the firefighters would all place bets on who was going to win, and whoever lost had to do burpees. And they
Nice.
still talk about to this day the guys having to do like 150 burpees.
Yeah. Those are core memories.
Those are
You
core
don't,
memories that they're creating. And so I think that is definitely the biggest pro is they just get a whole bunch of aunts and uncles that wouldn't get otherwise. And so
yeah, in the moment, like, oh, dad's not here tonight. You get that, but it's never like a week later. Like, remember that night when dad wasn't there? That's not where they focus, thankfully, which is how I was too. But I don't make it a disappointing thing. I might inside be like, oh, it'd be so much better if he was here. Of course it would. It'd be better if we were all together, but we're not, and we're going to make the best of it. And I think because my parents approached it that way, I'm approaching it that way too.
I tried to create little traditions inside of him not being here too, which I
Mhm.
think really helped the kids and myself. I'm like, oh, this really sucks, but let's go get some candy and watch a movie.
That's right. We made it till Friday. We're getting ice cream.
Yeah. Yep. That's our thing. Oh, today's really heavy. Let's get some pizza. Yeah. Two things can be true at the same time. It can be hard and it can also be worth it.
Yes, yes. I think that's where most of this life lives as we've been going back and forth on. This is a really, negative thing. This is really positive. That's just kind of this juxtaposition we battle daily.
Just know that if you're in that part of life right now where it's a struggle, you will see the good from it eventually.
Yeah. Yep. That's so true.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
Um, have your village, communicate with your firefighter. I mean, my husband would totally admit my first reaction is always, I'm going to have a moment of panic. And he is, as most of them are, just even keeled all the time. Nothing ruffles him whatsoever. But he lets me have my moment. And then it's like, okay, now we need to strategize. How are we going to figure this out? So we communicate all the time. If you have a career or a hobby that you really love or whatever your non negotiables, understanding that one's not more important than the other. Um, and schedule with pencil.
Yes. Schedule with pencil and question marks and exclamation points. All right. That was great. Thank you so much for being on the show and sharing wisdom and actually being the same person as me. Do you want people to be able to reach out to you?
So my social media is private. You can tag me or whatever because we're connected. But yeah, I am happy to be a resource. Totally fine being contacted or whatever.
Okay. I'm just going to link it in the show notes for you. So thank you so much for chatting with me,
Absolutely.
sharing your life with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you for continuing to do what you do. It's valuable to so many. Hopefully, you hear as much positive praise as you can, but I know it's valuable to so many more who probably don't say anything.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. That's so sweet.
Okay.